Deep in the heart of the Wild West, amidst the dusty streets and rowdy saloons of Tombstone, lived a legend. His name was John Henry Holliday, but to those who knew him, he was simply Doc. A fearless gambler and a crack shot with a revolver, Doc Holliday was a force to be reckoned with in the town he called home. But behind his bravado and tough exterior lay a man plagued by illness and tragedy, whose life would ultimately end in sadness and despair. John Henry Holliday, better known as Doc Holliday, was born on August 14, 1851 in Griffin, Georgia. He was the son of Henry and Alice Holliday and was of Scottish and English descent. Doc had an adopted brother named Francisco, and the two of them grew up together in the bustling town of Griffin. When the American Civil War broke out, Doc's father joined the Confederate Army and fought bravely in both the Mexican-American War and the Civil War. Despite his father's dedication to the Confederate cause, Doc would later become known for his loyalty to the Union. In 1864, when Doc was just 13 years old, his family moved to Valdosta, Georgia. It was there that tragedy struck as Doc's mother fell ill with tuberculosis and passed away just 2 years later. This was just the beginning of the devastating losses that Doc would experience in his life. Shortly after his mother's death, Doc's brother also fell ill with tuberculosis and passed away. It was a heartbreaking time for Doc and his family, and the loss of his mother and brother had a profound impact on him. In the wake of these tragedies, Doc's father remarried a woman named Rachel Martin. Despite the new addition to the family, life was never the same for Doc. He struggled with grief and illness throughout his teenage years and would ultimately find solace in the game of poker. Growing up in Valdosta, Georgia, John Henry Holliday, better known as Doc Holliday, had a thirst for knowledge. He studied mathematics, history, and grammar in Latin and French at the Valdosta Institute, immersing himself in the world of academia. At the age of 20, Doc decided to pursue a career in dentistry and headed north to Philadelphia to attend the Pennsylvania College of Dental Surgery. After completing his Doctor of Dental Surgery degree, he returned to the South, eager to put his newfound skills to the test. Doc's first job was as an assistant in St. Louis, Missouri, but he soon moved to Atlanta to live with his uncle. It was there that he began practicing dentistry in earnest, working alongside a man named Arthur C. Ford. As Doc gained more experience, he began substituting for Ford when he was absent, quickly earning a reputation as a skilled and knowledgeable dentist. Despite his young age, Doc had a natural talent for dentistry and was able to connect with his patients in a way that set him apart from other dentists. At the age of 22, he got into an argument with a group of black youths over the use of a swimming site in the Withlacoochee River. In the heat of the moment, Doc is believed to have shot at them with a shotgun. This incident was just the beginning of a string of troubles for Doc. He was diagnosed with tuberculosis, the same disease that had claimed the lives of his mother and adopted brother. His doctors advised him to move to a warmer climate, so he made his way to Dallas, Texas, which was on the edge of the Wild West. In Dallas, Doc teamed up with another dentist, Dr. John A. Seeger, and together they began to make a name for themselves as a dental team. Their practice gained recognition and they won various awards, including one for the best set of artificial teeth and dental wear. Their partnership, however, would not last forever. In 1874, Doc decided to strike out on his own and opened his own dental practice in Dallas. Doc Holliday's dental practice was struggling due to his frequent coughing spells caused by tuberculosis, which left him with limited options to earn a living. He turned to gambling as a more lucrative alternative and even found himself in legal trouble at one point, being indicted for illegal gambling and arrested after a gunfight. In 1875, Doc decided to leave Dallas and set out for Denver, taking on the alias Tom Mackey and working as a faro dealer. Unfortunately, his new life did not prove to be any less turbulent. He got into a heated argument with a well-known gambler named Bud Ryan, which ended with Ryan suffering a serious knife wound. Doc continued to move further west, following the gold rush to Deadwood before retracing his steps back to Denver, gambling along the way. He eventually made his way to Kansas before settling in Breckenridge, Texas, where he was shot and seriously injured. After he recovered, Doc moved to Fort Griffin, where he met a woman named Mary Catherine Horney, who would become one of his closest companions. Doc Holliday and Mary Catherine Horney made their way to Dodge City in 1878, introducing themselves as Dr. and Mrs. John H. Holliday. Despite his dental practice, Doc spent most of his time gambling. One day, he came to the aid of Wyatt Earp, who was outnumbered by cowboys in a saloon. Holliday drew his pistol on one of the cowboys and forced him to disarm. This act of bravery earned him the friendship of Wyatt Earp. Doc Holliday gained a reputation as a skilled card player and gunman. He moved with Horney to Las Vegas, where he continued to gamble and practice dentistry. The hot springs in the area were therapeutic for his tuberculosis, but the cold winters and the ban on gambling prompted him to return to Dodge City. As Holliday lived in Dodge City, he teamed up with Bat Masterson to prevent a war between two railroad companies claiming a right-of-way across the Royal Gorge, which was the only natural route through the Rockies. The conflict was resolved by the Treaty of Boston, and Holliday returned to Las Vegas to be with Horney. Once the railroad reached Las Vegas, the town became a bustling center of business. Holliday and his partner John Joshua Webb built a saloon and started a gambling business. In 1879, he accompanied the Earps to Prescott. Although the Earps continued to Tombstone, Holliday stayed back in Prescott with Horney since he found it suitable for gambling. A year later, he finally went to Tombstone and got caught up in the town's violence and politics. Doc Holliday had become a trusted ally of the Earp brothers, particularly Virgil Earp, who was Deputy U.S. Marshal and Police Chief of Tombstone in October of 1881. Virgil asked Holliday to back him up when he was repeatedly challenged by a group of cowboys who were continually breaking the law. Holliday stepped up to the challenge, and when a gunfight broke out, he was found to be acting within the law. After the incident, Holliday continued as deputy marshal, assisting the Earps in their fight against the cowboys in various gun battles, including the famous gunfight at Iron Springs. However, Holliday and Earp later had differences, which caused Holliday to leave Tombstone for Pueblo, Colorado in 1882. Unfortunately, his life of gambling and fighting would catch up to him, and he was arrested in Denver. When Earp heard of the arrest, he used his connections to get Holliday released. As we delve into Doc Holliday's personal life, we learned that he had a relationship with a woman named Mary Catherine Horning Cummins, also known as Big Nose Kate. According to Kate, they were married and lived in Las Vegas, New Mexico. Holliday was a dentist by day and a gambler by night, and they often separated but eventually reconciled. However, during his stay in Tombstone, Holliday had a bitter fight with Horney, and later his enemies manipulated her to sign an affidavit implicating him in a robbery. She later admitted she was coerced to sign the documents, and the charges against him were dropped. After the incident, Holliday and Horney parted ways, and she left the town. Holliday then moved to Colorado, hoping that the spring waters would cure his tuberculosis, but his condition worsened, and he soon became addicted to alcohol. He was involved in a few more gunfights before his death on November 8, 1887, in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. The life of Doc Holliday, the legendary figure from Tombstone, had come to an end.